Today, we're incorporating, or let's pump the brakes a little bit. But we're back at it again for day 6, Come Rise or Grind. As a quick recap, we nailed down our pillar pages and the sub niches that we plan to target in the gifting sector for our affiliate business. We also have a couple other businesses that we're working on. One of those being the stream that you're watching right now has a Twitch and a YouTube component. Then also doing some consulting on the side. That's another business. And I'm going to give you full access, full view into all those, especially from a dollars and cents perspective. But why do I bring that up today? Well, today we're incorporating, or let's pump the brakes a little bit. We are researching what type of business structure we want to incorporate with for our businesses and how we should do that, how I should do that. Again, I offer no tax or financial advice for your own business. Please do your own due diligence. Hopefully this can be enlightening for anybody who's wondered how you incorporate a business, why you should, how you incorporate, where, what does it mean? We're going to figure out all those things today. Well, by their definition, it means when a business becomes incorporated, a separate and distinct legal entity is created. That sounds very important as a business owner. Sure, we're going to find that there's some liability incentives, meaning I'm a person with X number of dollars. If I do something wrong that I can get sued for, I have the liability of losing all of those dollars, my whole net worth, perhaps even more. However, if I'm incorporated, if my business is incorporated, I'll have a separate and independent legal entity rather than myself. I'll have the business, which will shield my personal assets. And you shouldn't think about this as being something shady, right? Not everybody goes into business to use any of this in a shady manner. It protects yourself from mistakes. So let's think about my businesses, right? Told you I have a couple of them now. First business I'm thinking about incorporating is MattyAds, the stream that you're watching, the YouTube content that I'm producing, and this business should at some point start earning income. It's certainly costing me money to run this business. Again, you can go into the tracker. We have an expenses sheet here. I think I've spent something like $1,300 or $1,400 just in streaming equipment, which again, don't feel bad. I mean, that's part of running the business is incurring cost, but we also need to generate revenue from it. Second business that I want to incorporate will be my affiliate business right? We're going to be building one of these affiliate businesses on stream. That's what we're doing right now. That's the content that you're enjoying. Democratize that knowledge base, break down the walls of those fake gurus selling $1,000 marketing courses. And that business should start pumping out a stream of income, right? That's why we build businesses. We're trying to make money. It's okay. You can say it. And then the third business that I'm currently involved in is consulting. I'm consulting on the side. This generates cash, and it's focused on digital marketing, which is my experience and my expertise. Same thing I'm using to build these online businesses. And so the question is, are they all separately incorporated? Do I need to incorporate 3 times? Or do I create one business that houses all of them? So we know there's a couple formations we need to look at, right? We've got sole proprietorship, there's LLC, limited liability company, S-Corp, and then there's C-Corp. C-Corp is for a corporation. So we're not building a corporation. We're really looking at how to incorporate ourselves as really a small business. And before we even research it, and we will, right now it's a one-person company. You could assume at some point it gets, a couple employees. If all of these things go really well, we build a bunch of affiliate businesses. And I think that's probably going to be an LLC. And then an S-Corp kind of sits in the middle of small business plus corporate or C-Corp. So an S-Corp offers investment opportunities, perpetual existence, and that covered protection of limited liability. Yep, we do not want to be sued and then lose all of our assets. And they are not subject to double taxation. And then also file yearly taxes, which is also a great question, is like, how do we pay taxes? Quarterly estimates versus yearly? There's pass-through taxation. Owners report their share of profit and loss on their individual tax returns. The company can attract investors through the sale of shares of stock. Sure, that is a pro, but I don't plan on selling any shares of stock, right? This is not really an investable business. So what are some of the disadvantages of S-Corps? It's only available to U.S. citizens and permanent residents only. Unlike the C-Corp and LLC, you have to be a legal resident of the U.S. So that means an advantage to LLC can be U.S. resident, right? Might not be a pro for you, but certainly it could be a pro for someone else looking to start their business who might, be in America on a visa working. And I do believe the American dream should be available for all that live in this country. Why should I have the right to build a successful business just because my parents happen to be born here? All right, so we know an LLC is called a limited liability company, but what is it? Simply put, an LLC is the least complex business structure. I like hearing that. As somebody who's literally trying to figure out a lot of things on the fly, right? I'm editing YouTube videos, streaming every day. I'm consulting, filming TikTok videos. By the way, go ahead and check out my TikTok if you're a TikTok user. Screen name is It's MattyAds. Realistically, there's a lot more things that I don't have time to do. And if you're starting a business and you're working, a lot of you might decide to start a business while you're working at another job. You have to do that. You still have to punch in 8 to 10 hours a day and work. And so having a least complex structure sounds good to me. Starting an LLC also gives you the perk of pass-through taxes, which we've talked about already with the S-Corp. Limited liability, obviously, due to the name, and legal protection for your personal assets. LLC owners report their share of profit and loss on their individual tax returns, meaning you avoid double taxation. Legal protection, creating an LLC gives you limited liability for business debts and obligations. We talked about that earlier. Disadvantages of starting an LLC. LLC owners cannot issue shares of stock to attract investors. This is true. However, I know without a shadow of a doubt that they can offer phantom stock. So if my business grew and all of the sudden, and I have a team of 10 people, I believe I still can offer them stock in the business, right? I want them to be incentivized to grow that business even more. I could give them phantom stock options. Lack of uniformity. An LLC can be treated differently in different states. This is true. And that's why we've talked about, are we going to incorporate in California or are we going to incorporate in Delaware? It also offers pros too, right? Because an LLC is treated differently in different states, it means some states are better than others. So if you're incorporated in the worst state in the union to incorporate a business, sure, that's a con. But what if you're incorporated in the best state? Tax recognition on appreciated assets. This could happen if you convert an existing business to an LLC. All right, so this to me sounds like you've built $1 million business. Perhaps it's a sole proprietorship, and then you decide, hey, I want to turn it into an LLC. You will be taxed on appreciated assets. So we got LLC. Wondering if we should just quickly do what partnership is. I think partnership is another. Limited partnership. Yes, let's do it. Even though I'm almost 100% sure a limited partnership makes no sense for this type of business. A limited partnership is much like a general partnership, but with significant differences. Management of a limited partnership rests with the general partner. I've always wondered what a general partner is. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody with that title, right? I like to say they're generally from those businesses I mentioned before, law firms, accounting firms, financial firms. You generally see general partner there, maybe real estate investment firms. A limited partnership also allows for any number of limited partners, which again, you see a lot of at those companies I talked about before, whose liability is limited to the amount of their investment in the company. So if you're KPMG, you have general partners who bear ultimate responsibility for the business and its debts. And then you have 100 limited partners that are able to chip in to the business and become partners. But it's going to be dependent on their total investment in the company. So limited partnership offers liability protection up to the amount of investment. Good old sole proprietorship. So sole proprietor is a sole trader, or proprietorship is an unincorporated business that just has one owner who pays personal income tax on profits earned from the business. A sole proprietorship is the easiest business to establish or take part of due to lack of government regulation. As such, these types of businesses are very popular among sole owners of business, individual self-contractors, and consultants. So definitely tied into what we're talking about with freelancing or digital marketing consulting. We know that you can just put your name, use your own name as your sole proprietorship. Talked a little bit about credit card churning. Part of that is you can open up business credit cards for any sole proprietor business entities. Right? If you got a little side hustle, you don't need to have a business name to open a business credit card. But that is another topic that we can get into later on down the line. Sole proprietorships are easy to establish and dismantle due to lack of government involvement, making them popular with small business owners and contractors. So that's a pro, easy to establish and dismantle. The con to that, because it's so easy to dismantle and create these, is that you don't have many legal protections. Many sole proprietorships end up getting restructured into an LLC. So we were wondering about that earlier, right? Because one of the cons to an LLC that we saw was that you would end up having to pay converted business taxes on the value of your business later on down the line. Hey, I gotta turn this into an LLC. You're gonna end up paying taxes on that, even though you've already paid taxes on it through the whole forming of the business, right? It might be a 10-year-old company. So that's part of the reason we're doing the work now and figuring out what we want to do now. We're gonna plan on building a big business as the business grows, which it's doing. Check out my YouTube. Thanks for tuning into my stream. They often transition to a limited liability entity, such as an LLC or LLP. Where are you thinking your business needs to be? I'm thinking mine is going to be an LLC. From what I'm reading and researching so far, it seems quite clear. LLC University is telling us, for most people, it's best to form your LLC in your home state because that is where your LLC is transacting business. Forming an LLC in Delaware, Nevada, or Wyoming usually ends up costing a lot more. More headaches too. Well, that's not good. The disadvantages of forming an LLC outside of your home state far outweigh the perceived advantages. Let's first talk about domestic LLCs and foreign LLCs. If you form an LLC in your state where you reside, aka your home state, I live in California, that's my home state, this is known as a domestic LLC. If you form an LLC outside of your home state, so let's say I formed it in Delaware, that would be a foreign LLC. That means you now have two LLCs, one in California for me, and then one in Delaware. And I have to pay, two state filing fees. Although small in geographical sense, Delaware is quite large in terms of business activity. In fact, according to Wikipedia, over 50% of U.S. publicly traded corporations and 60% of Fortune 500 companies are incorporated in Delaware. Well, that is enormous. Just let that sink in, by the way. Almost 300 of the top 500 companies are incorporated in Delaware. But did you see the two words underlined above? Corporations and incorporated. You'll notice these statistics say nothing about LLCs. Good point, sir. Again, the way I'm feeling so far about this is I need an LLC in California. California costs $70 state fee, annual franchise tax, $800. Geez. So where do we file our taxes? Here we go. I will file taxes on my Schedule C, profit loss from business. So you can list out your business income and then you can deduct your expenses. Which expenses can you deduct is a great question. What is this? LLCs qualify for 20% pass-through deduction. So if net income from your online LLC is $100,000, you can deduct up to 20% of that from your income taxes. And I guess the net of that, right? So if you're taking 20% of 100 grand, that is 20% that you remove from your income tax liability, but that's not how much you necessarily save in taxes, right? Your tax rate is still probably, let's just use the example, 30%. So the amount that you'd actually, or the amount that I would save on my actual taxes there would be 20,000 times 30%, or just over 6,000. This is the California website, California government website. This tells us exactly what we need to do, by the way, to create our LLC, how to open an LLC. And then it tells you, hey, by the way, you're going to have to pay $800 in taxes every year to the franchise tax board. But I did want to recap what we've talked about today on the stream. First thing we thought about was I need to consider how I will incorporate my business in the state of California. We researched several different business entity formations. First one was sole proprietorship, limited liability company, S-Corp, or a small business corporation. Finally figured out what that S means. Fourth one was a C-Corp, or a big boy corporation. And then the fifth one was a LLP, or a limited partnership. All right, so really the last area that we looked at then was limited liability companies, right? We knew the pros, the cons, how to start. We had some initial questions. The big thing we had to figure out was where we wanted to do it. All of our research I've seen has pointed me towards California. Other thing that we need to dig into and understand a little bit better is some trademark protection. Not entirely sure how that world works, but certainly need to think about that for my businesses. And so now, since we have all that information and we know how to set up our business, we need to begin building the website. We need to secure a domain name. If you've never heard of expired domains, get ready to be excited because there's some strategy that we want to look at when it comes to actually buying a domain name. So hopefully y'all tune in for that. Appreciate everybody who spent time with me today as we look to build online businesses. That's the goal of MattyAds. Go ahead and hit that like, share, follow, subscribe button. It will help me out greatly, and I appreciate it. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.